Most men today have no idea what masculinity really is. They've confused noise for strength, performance for power, and bravado for leadership. You see it everywhere, like guys yelling online, flexing cars, women, money, acting like aggression or arrogance makes them strong. And the world eats it up because it's loud, it's dramatic, it's entertaining. But here's the truth, that's not masculinity. That's insecurity with a mask on. Real masculinity is not something you perform, it's something you embody. It's quiet and it's steady, it's creative, it's anchored. It's the man who can take criticism without falling apart, the man who builds instead of brags, the man who doesn't need to shout because his presence already speaks louder than his words. And I know this because I've lived on both sides. I've been the man performing strength, and I've been the man who had to rebuild himself from the ground up, learning what real power feels like. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. The difference between fake masculinity and real masculinity, and why it matters now more than ever. Now, before I go deeper, if this is already hitting you, make sure you like this video and subscribe, because I'm not here to hand out surface level motivation. I'm here to challenge the way you see yourself as a man. So let's talk about fake masculinity, because that's what most men are chasing right now. Fake masculinity is loud, it's aggressive, it's the constant need to prove yourself. Like, you know the guy. He's shouting online, he's flexing his cars, the watches, the women. He's always got a story about how he dominated someone, how he crushed it, how he's the alpha in the room. But here's the problem. If you strip away the noise, there's nothing underneath. It's like a hollow drum. It makes a lot of sound, but it has no depth. And you can test this really easily. Just challenge them, right? Just criticize them, and you'll see the mask just slip in seconds. Fake masculinity cannot handle criticism. Someone calls them out, and they either erupt in rage, insults, threats, or ghost you and just cut you off. They'll build walls around themselves so that no one can question them. But the truth is, they don't want to be seen. They don't want to be exposed. And that's just weakness. That's fragility. That's not power. That's the behavior of a boy who's terrified of being overlooked. A boy who never felt enough, who still thinks that the way to get respect is to shout louder and punch harder and brag bigger. I used to think that kind of guy was strong. I'd see the bravado and think, that's a man who's got it figured out. Now I just see the insecurity all over it. I see the desperation for approval. I see the scared little boy who still hasn't grown up. And here's the danger, where men chase this kind of fake masculinity. It just infects everything. Their relationships, their families, their work. They end up bullying instead of leading, dominating instead of protecting, controlling instead of creating. And it leaves this destruction behind them, like broken trust, broken families, broken legacy. And that's why I'm saying this so strongly, because this illusion of masculinity is killing men, and it's killing what it means to be a man. So if that's fake masculinity, what does real masculinity look like then? Well, real masculinity is almost the complete opposite. It's not loud. It doesn't need to flex. It doesn't collapse under criticism. Real masculinity is quiet strength. It's anchored presence. It's a man who doesn't need to prove himself because he already knows who he is. And again, I've seen this in my own life and in the men that I've worked with. The strongest men are rarely the ones who are shouting the loudest. They're the ones you can feel when they walk into a room. They don't need to dominate the space because people are drawn to them magnetically because their energy is strong, it's solid and grounded and undeniable. Real masculinity, it thrives on challenge. It doesn't avoid criticism, it invites it in. Because a real man can take feedback, even harsh feedback. And instead of folding, he grows stronger from it. He doesn't run from the sword fight, he sharpens his blade on it. And that's the difference between insecurity and confidence. And here's another thing. Real masculinity isn't about how much you can consume. It's about what you can create. Because anyone can buy a car, flash cash, or post photos with women, but to build something that actually lasts, like a business, a family, a body of work, a legacy, that's where real confidence comes from. Because for thousands of years, men proved themselves, not by bragging, but by building, by making, protecting, and creating. And you don't even have to look at the history books to see it. Like, look at the men who inspire you the most. They're builders. They've taken the pain, their discipline, and their vision, and they've turned it into something real. That's the essence of masculinity. It's not performance, it's not noise, but creation. And here's the thing, it doesn't mean that you need to be perfect. It doesn't mean you can't feel emotions or admit weakness. In fact, real masculinity demands honesty. It demands ownership, because you can't be grounded if you're constantly lying to yourself about who you are. So real masculinity is this: grounded presence, openness to challenge, and the drive to build something bigger than yourself. That's where true strength lives. That's the difference between performance and power. Let me ground this in reality for you, because it's fucking easy to talk about concepts, but what does it actually look like in the flesh, right? One of my greatest inspirations, or people I admire probably, is like Muhammad Ali. What made him great wasn't just the bragging, right? It was people like Joe Frazier. It was the rivals that pushed him. Like, Ali welcomed the challenge. He didn't collapse when the heat came. He sharpened himself against it. And that's real masculinity. Not avoiding the fight, not hiding from criticism, but getting better because of it. Well, think about 50 Cent, right? You might see that public image in the hard, aggressive, in your face act, but when you look around him in his real life, he's calm, he's centered, he doesn't seem to need to fill the air with his words. His presence draws the room to him without him forcing it, and that's real strength. It's magnetic and not performative. And I've seen it up close in my own life too. Like, years ago, I broke my ankle, like smashed it, fucking shattered it. And I'll be honest, I leaned into bravado for a long time. I was using weed, I used noise, I used external success to hide the pain. From the outside, like, it looked like strength, but inside I was just running. But when I finally stopped performing, when I faced myself and actually rebuilt myself from the inside out, that's when I discovered what real power felt like. Not pretending, not posturing, but creating something real, building businesses, rebuilding my health, leading men. That's where my confidence lives now. And in the men that I coach, they come in posturing and performing, trying to show me how tough they are, but the real breakthroughs come when they drop their mask and they learn how to anchor themselves, when they learn that strength isn't about avoiding pain, it's about holding it and facing it and still moving forward. That's when they stop being boys and they start being men. Real masculinity is always proven in the fire, not in the performance, in the fire. Now, why should you even care about any of this, right? Like, why should you actually care about the difference between fake masculinity and real masculinity? Well, the cost of getting this wrong is fucking massive. If we look around, we're living in a time when most men are either lost in bravado or they've just swung the other way completely and just cut themselves off from their power. Both paths lead to weakness. One burns people around you with aggression, and the other just leaves you invisible, disconnected, and resentful. Neither is leadership, and neither is manhood. And this isn't about just you either. Like, this is about the people who rely on you, your woman, your kids, your brothers, your community. When a man performs strength instead of embodying it, the people around him can feel it. They feel the insecurity. They feel the chaos. They don't feel safe. They can't trust him to lead. I've seen it ruin relationships. I'm sure you have too. I've seen men who can't handle conflict, so they either explode in anger or just collapse in silence. Both of them destroy intimacy. They drive love away. Because women aren't inspired by a performance. They crave presence. They want to feel you anchored, even in the storm. And it shows up in business too. Fake masculinity chases fast wins and validation. Real masculinity builds foundations. One burns out, the other lasts. And that's why this conversation is urgent. It's so important, because the world doesn't need more men pretending. It doesn't need more noise. It needs men who can hold the fucking line, who can lead with steadiness, who can take criticism, who can create. Men who know who the fuck they are and don't need to scream it in people's faces just to be seen. And if you're listening to this right now, if you're watching this right now, then the choice is yours. You can keep performing and just stay hollow, or you can anchor yourself, reclaim your power, and start embodying the kind of man the world actually respects. So let's bring this home. Let's fucking land this shit. Fake masculinity, loud, fragile, desperate validation, and it just folds under criticism, burns out in bravado. But real masculinity, quiet, grounded, and unshakable. It creates, it leads, it doesn't need a shout because its presence is enough. And the question is, which one are you living right now? Be honest with yourself. Are you performing for approval, or are you actually embodying strength? Because only you know the truth. But here's my challenge for you. Stop performing. Stop hiding behind noise and aggression or false humility and anchor yourself. Build something real. Show up with presence and not performance. That's the work. That's the path. And if this message hits you, if you're ready to go deeper on this and actually do the work, I've built a space for men just like you. It's called Modern Masculinity. It's my school community where we go beyond these videos and we break stuff down step by step. So if you're serious about embodying masculinity, the link's in my bio. So come join us. Think about this. The mask will always crack. But the man underneath, that's who has to lead. So stop hiding.